Hello and welcome. In this episode we're going to be going through flat polishing of freshly painted car. We do it the old school way. There is better ways nowadays, but we still prefer to do it that way. And we're going to be showing you what we are going to be actually doing with the clear coat and how to get that nice and glossy finish. First off, we're going to mask all the areas that we don't want to damage, like the trims and the edges where you don't want your sandpaper and sponge for polishing to coat that, because you might damage the paint. So round one, we start to sand with 1500 sandpaper wet. And here we can see on this example, I don't know how much camera can pick it up, on the right you have the surface that it's previously polished, flat polished, glossy finish, and on the left you have a freshly painted door with some bit of the orange peel. Round two. In this round two, we are chasing the dust spots on the paintwork. It should look like something like this. After you sand it, you can clearly see it as a dot. Now we're going to go with a little bit tougher rubber to get them out, smaller cube, like this. And after that, it's round three, where we're going to go with finer sandpaper. So round three, we are starting with machine, 1000 grit sandpaper and wet sanding, trying to get the scratches from 1500 out. The only thing important to remember is stay away from the edges. With this, you might cut too much on the edges. So round four. In round four, we're going to go again with the machine, 3000 sandpaper grit, wet sanding. You're probably going to need to go maybe twice as long as with 1000 to get all the scratches from 1000 out. After that, we start with the polishing. So after we sanded the whole body with the 3000 sandpaper, you can see that we have nice and uniform surface. Now it's time to go and polish. We're going to be using two pastes. There's a lot of different brands outside, a lot of different ways how to polish it. You can use it either rotational polisher like I am using it or orbital one. We are going to be using single stage polish paste, and after that we're going to go with the, let's say, ultra fine polishing paste to finish it, to give it that glossy shine at the end. We are using also two different sponges for this. So this one is a little bit harder to get first cut with the harder sponge, and then after that we're going to be using the soft sponge to give it a little bit more shine. So stage one, we start with a rougher compound to compound the surface. Okay, we have this tough sponge on. We're going to saturate that with the water. Plenty of water. Basically, why I'm using the water is to keep the temperature down, not to burn the paint. Now we're going to flush it. Okay. Now after that, we want to saturate the sponge. So when the sponge is saturated, you can go and wet a little bit surface, not too much, just a little bit to have the something to keep the temperature down. And we can spread that easily around the surface. Don't take the whole doors to start polishing, just take one part and concentrate on that part. And the another thing that you need to know is you don't want to let your polishing paste dry, because it might produce more scratches. So we keep the speed between 2 and 3 at the lowest setup for cutting. You can use a wet rag to keep the temperature down, clean it. And we can go with the soft paper towel to clean all the excess out. And after first pass, you can already see that the color is coming back to life. Now we're going to proceed on the next bottom part, and we're going to continue part by part like that until we get everything done with the first stage. we did final polishing with fine paste and soft sponge, and this is how its end product should look like. You also saw me checking my work with the light. You can use the light if you have bad lighting in your workshop. You can use light to check, do you have any mist spots or haze spots, and you can just go over it again with the stage 1 polishing paste. And some tips and tricks for the end. Try to avoid the edges. The edges are always with less material. You cannot do this on a factory paint job because you don't have enough of clear coat, so this only applies for the freshly painted cars and if you have 4 to 5 layers of clear coat on the car. After this we are off for washing and on a lift to check the car underneath.
Hello everybody, this car was already on our YouTube channel, you like it, so here is more. After Božo showed you how to polish the car and all that witchcrafts with the paint and orange peel and whatever, it's time to show you how this car looks like when it's painted underneath. It's refurbished, suspension is refurbished, floor is refurbished, freshly painted, so we're going to show you that. Scotty, beam me up. The rays of Mercedes.
So this car was done underneath before a year ago. We took apart all suspension parts, sandblasted them, changed all the bushings, all the ball joints. Whatever could go wrong with this car went wrong, from seized bolts, broken bolts, bunch of rust, sensors crumbled under the fingers. We changed partially the brake lines, and there was a couple patches on the floor, and we body shot the floor. So the floor was completely redone. Suspension was completely redone. So basically underneath is brand new car.
As you know, cars are everywhere and we can look them from outside. We are admiring to their paint, to their chrome and other shiny things, but this is how a car should look like when it's on the lift. Before you buy a car, you should do the similar thing. Lift them on the lift, check the corners, check the holes, check the hoses, check the exhaust, check suspension, check, 3 times. When it's car in this condition, you can say it's good.
In 1979, Mercedes, after 6 years developing, came out with the next successor of W126, or S-Class as we know it today. It was afterward produced for 12 whole years and in quantity up to 900,000 of pieces. This model specifically is the second generation of the S-Class, short wheelbase. It came with a 2.6 liter straight 6 engine paired with 4-speed automatic gearbox, and it didn't came with the hydraulic suspensions. Hydraulic suspensions came on the later models, 380, 500 and SL and 500 SE, some models. Now I'm not going to go into the numbers and markings of Mercedes because it's complicated and not complicated at the same time, but this was ahead of its time by the luxury and what car provided actually on the market comparing to the other cars. Now when we come to the interior, Mercedes did excellent job inside. As you can see, we have burgundy wood inside, leather. The clusters on the car were arranged so it's very easy to see everything what's happening with the car. All the buttons and auxiliary components are there. It's very intuitive to drive this car, not like a modern cars where you have a bunch of touch screens and just complicated stuff. What this class offered, at least for me, when I sit in this car, I immediately know that I'm in Mercedes. because it's actually is floating on the road and it's very comfortable to drive. Now, you know that the car is good when dictators drive them, actually 3 of them, armored one. I'm not gonna go into the names, but back then the car was quite expensive and not affordable to everyone. Mostly high-end earning people were driving this, and this example is also for sale. So if you are interested in this type of the car, we can provide the details from the customer so you can check the car more into detail.